today what I am presenting is pre-operative assessment. We have already seen how the fistula has been made actually in the film. And what pre-operative assessment helps us is that how we can achieve the best outcome. So if we have some evaluation previously, then we can decide where to make the fistula, whether the person is fit for the fistula, and we'll have the maximum output from the procedure. So if we get a hand like this, a book picture where you can see all the veins, then the job is very easy. But this is not the routine case. What we find is hands like this, where we have a failed fistula, there is some swelling, there is no veins are visible, and you cannot actually make out any actual site where we can make the fistula. So that is the role of preoperative assessment, that you have to assess the limb and find out whether we can make a successful fistula. So what are the problems with AV fistula is the primary failure. That is, all AV fistula that remain inadequate for dialysis after formation. That can be immediate thrombosis, there may be thrombosis, early thrombosis, or even fistula is working but there is no maturation after even 2 months. So what are the reasons for these outcomes? Some patients are obese, some have multiple previous access surgeries, some are difficult to assess. We have patients with rheumatoid arthritis or deformities where we can not particularly see the vein or clinically assess the arteries, female patients, diabetics, and patients with arterial and venous diseases. So here is the role for pre-op evaluation. So how we can divide the talk is the focused medical history, clinical examination, and the ultrasonography, which is a very good non-invasive way to assess the veins. In the medical history, as it has been already pointed out, we do the fistula in the non-dominant arm. So if there is any previous cannulations, any scars that can be seen, if patient is on anticoagulant therapy, and whether patient is a diabetic or whether there was a recent use of arterial or venous line. Clinical inspection of the artery and veins, any scars from the catheter, and also if there is edema, collateral formation on that side of the chest would suggest a central venous occlusion. So coming to the arterial evaluation, there are two parts of the AV fistula, arterial and vein. So if you see the arterial evaluation, the aim of the arterial evaluation is that to ensure adequate blood flow through the fistula. If you see the flow in a artery, a radial artery, it will be around 25-30 ml per minute. And once the fistula is made, this flow has to increase up to 500 ml per minute. That is, you are running the machine at 300 ml per minute, and 150-200 ml flow is required to maintain the patency of the artery. So this much flow is required. So what is happening is, once you are making a fistula, the capacitance of the artery has to increase and it has to accommodate that much amount of flow. So the arterial wall should be good and there should not be any stenosis proximal to the site of AV fistula. So to ensure adequate flow. Second is to avoid ischemia to the limb. So if you are now making a fistula, at the site of fistula blood is returning back. So no blood is going forward or less blood is going forward. So the other blood supply to the hand should be checked whether it is adequate or not. So pulse examination, in clinical examination you can palpate all the pulses, and this would include brachial, radial, ulnar, axillary pulses, whether they are absent and if they are diminished or they are normal. Then if there is any difference between the two limbs, the blood pressure difference is more than 20 mmHg, this signifies that there is a proximal stenotic lesion which is somewhere proximal to that site of measurement and it is causing a decrease in the blood flow. So if you make a fistula in that limb, it may not work. Then another important test is the Allen test. Allen test tests the patency of the palmar arch. So I've got a small video for this. You block the radial and ulnar artery, ask the person to clench the fist, squeeze out the thumb, the blood. Now you release one of the vessel, you see this area which has become white will become red within 5 seconds. You can again see this, it is now, this is white. Now you release the ulnar artery, it becomes red within 5 seconds. So if it is becoming red within 5 seconds, less than 5 seconds, then it is an adequate flow. So with this test we can say that the collateral circulation, because you are operating on the radial artery, if it's getting blocked, the ulnar blood supply is maintaining the arm circulation through the palmar arch. Yeah, this one. Okay. So the another thing is the ultrasonography. So ultrasonography has make the things easier for us now. We can non-invasively assess lot of things in the blood circulation, not only and also objectify the things. If we objectify the things, we can compare the things and study them. So this is the machine which we have used. The ultrasound machine is important. It should have the probe you are using is important. If there is more frequency of the probe, you see more surface structures. The depth of ultrasound will be limited to surface structures if the frequency is more. So in this, but the clarity will also be more. So we use greater than 7 megahertz probe for B mode and Doppler greater than 5 megahertz. The gel used for the for interface and also the environment. If it is very cold, it will cause shrinkage of the vessels and the size may differ. So you have the environment should be correct. Then the angle of insonation, that is the when you are doing the Doppler, the direction of the ultrasonic wave and the blood flow wave, that they make an angle, and it should be 60 degree or less, because the formula for Doppler estimation uses a cos theta, that cos of 60 degrees. So it should be less than 60. Then position of the probe, whether you should use a transverse direction of the probe or longitudinal probe. Generally Doppler assessment should be done in a longitudinal direction, but you can also put in the transverse to assess any focal lesions. If you are putting the probe in transverse position, you can misjudge the diameter of the vessel if it is slightly inclined anteriorly or laterally. So longitudinal position is better to judge the diameter of the vessel. So if you are doing the ultrasound, you have to do the ultrasound starting from the subclavian artery, assessing the axillary, brachial, then radial ulnar arteries. And first you apply the color Doppler mode, where you can assess any focal lesions. If there is a lesion, you apply the spectral waveform and see if there is a stenotic lesion. If it is a stenosis, it is generally significant if there is a more than 50% narrowing, if the peak systolic velocity in that area rises more than 200%. So this is a patient which we did a few days back. Here you can see, here the linear probe is used. It is being kept at the radial artery longitudinally, and now you can see the artery in the B mode. You can put the marker and estimate the distance, that is the diameter of the vessel. So it is 0.236 centimeters. So this gives us the diameter of the vessel. There is a significance to it that if diameter generally is more than 2 millimeter, then it is a good outcome. You can make a better fistula. Then in that same vessel, you can apply a Doppler. In applying a Doppler, you have to, once you apply the Doppler, the spectrum, and that you will have a trace. Here in the trace, there is in the button in the machine, you can press it, you will automatically get a mean time average velocity reading, like this is showing here, and you will get a axis flow. So this will estimate the flow there in the machine, in the fistula. So what are the variables to estimate the flow? The variables are cross-sectional area and time average velocity. These two variables have to be estimated. Cross-sectional area can be estimated by pi r square formula. Find out the radius of the vessel and apply it to the formula pi r square. So you will get the diameter. It will, and the area, which will be in centimeter square. And you can have the time average velocity, which will be given by the machine. So you can multiply, and because you want per minute, you can multiply by 60. So this is another way. The diameter can be estimated from the diagram which I showed you here, or it can be automatically estimated by the machine. So this will give us a flow in the fistula. Then you are tracing the artery up. This is the brachial artery. You can apply the color Doppler to see the outline if there are any stenotic lesions. This is how you are place the probe. This is going further up. This is another patient where we found that the brachial artery was dividing very early into the arm and dividing into the radial and ulnar arteries. You can also comment on the arterial wall with the help of the ultrasound. If you see, this is the diagram showing healthy individual, how the wall is appearing in the ultrasound, and this is a renal patient, how the wall is appearing. The white line here is the intima, the black here is the media, and you see that if you measure the thickness of the vessel, that has also changed. Another concept is of reactive hyperemia. Once you do a spectral Doppler waveform in a normal radial artery, you clinch the fist, then you will see this sort of a waveform. And now when you, after 2 minutes, you release it suddenly, so there will be a release phenomena, and this will be how you will be seeing the spectrum. This is a biphasic low resistance flow, and this low resistance flow signifies that there is an accentuation of flow once you release the fist, and this can, you can estimate the resistive index in this area. So one of the important study which was published in 2002 in AJKD, and which used Doppler as a guideline, and found out what are the criteria which you can apply and say, okay, if these are the Doppler finding, your patient has a good outcome. So what they did was, they made consecutive fistulas in around 120 patients, and they divided the outcome into whether the fistula was working after 48 hours or whether it was not working. And the Doppler the outcomes, or the Doppler parameter which were studied before the making of the AV fistula, were then differentiated in the two groups. If you see in this table, what you can see is the internal diameter of the artery. If the internal diameter of the artery is less than is around 0.2 centimeter, and in the group which was failed, like the group B, this is the group where it was, the fistula failed, it was 0.16 centimeter. So there is a significant difference, and that is why we take a cutoff of 0.16 centimeter as the lowest cutoff for an adequate artery. Then thickness of the artery, the blood flow in the artery, and resistive index at hyperemia. In those patients who had a larger internal diameter of the artery and who had a resistive index less than 0.7, the flow increased rapidly in the vessel after formation of the fistula as compared to the other patients. So these are the criteria which are used. Feeding artery internal diameter should be optimally more than 2 millimeters. Resistive index at hyperemia should be less than 0.7. The arterial blood flow around 50 ml per minute, and it should increase to greater than 300 ml per minute at 1 week. And the arterial wall morphology should be conducive for AV fistula. Now coming to the venous part of the AV fistula. The venous part, you know the venous tree, and we are usually using the cephalic vein. If cephalic vein in the forearm or in the arm, if it is not up to mark, you can use the basilic vein. So what you have to do is, you can distend the vein with the help of a BP cuff or with a tourniquet. You apply it for around 1 to 2 minutes, and this will, a BP cuff can be inflated around 5 to 10 millimeter above the diastolic pressure. The veins will be distended. You can palpate them also. By palpation also you can mark them, or with ultrasonography you can see what is the tracing, from where the veins are arising, what is their diameter. You can in between press the probe and see whether they are patent. Is there any luminal thrombus? Is there a straight segment? How deep they are from the surface? So a lot of things you can study with the help of a Doppler. So this is a ultrasound showing the cephalic vein, where you have measured the internal diameter, and it is around 0.30. We take a cutoff of more than 2.5 millimeter to be a good size. This is another diagram showing the drainage of the basilic vein into the axillary vein, and this is the axillary artery. This is the position of the probe. So anatomy conducive for AV fistula in a venous site, if there is a thin, smooth walled, anechoic lumen, compressible, with sufficient length, straight length to have a needle placement, and less than 6 millimeter from the surface, and diameter more than 2.5. The internal diameter of the vein can also increase. If you put a compression, the increase should be more than around 40 to 50%. And you can map the veins where they are going. You can have surface marking of the veins. The central veins, you can put a Doppler and see if there is accentuation during inspiration, and that will rule out any central obstruction of the veins. So coming to the comparison, we have been making AV fistula for so much time, and we have been using clinical parameters only. Most of the centers are using clinical parameter only. So what is wrong with that? It is rapid, there is no extra cost, and venous, but you can not have much information about proximal arterial stenosis. That is the thing. But in ultrasound, you require more equipment, more skill, but you can obviously study the arterial part better. So is the ultrasound needed for all patients? We have been doing without ultrasound also fine. So there are certain studies which have seen this routine use of ultrasound. So what they have seen is in consecutive patients who underwent AV fistula, they were divided into whether they've used ultrasound or they've not used ultrasound. But these are unselected group of patients who had poor risk patient also, and they found that there was some benefit if you routinely use the ultrasound. Then is routine preoperative ultrasound mapping necessary for patients who have a favorable physical examination? Suppose you examine physically and patient's hand is quite good, veins are quite good, pulses are okay. Then do you need a Doppler for such patients also? So that has also been studied in a prospective studies, and what they found that it is not of much use. If you have patient with adequate sized vessels and adequate physical examination, you may not benefit by doing ultrasound in these patients. Preoperative ultrasound in women was in unselective group. They found a lot of benefit by doing a preoperative Doppler ultrasound. Then selective use of ultrasound in 145 consecutive patients.